Hello again and welcome to the Warlord Wednesdays. This is where we take a look at some bolt action tactics. And today, guys, we're going to be continuing with some general tactics, some classic Mordian glory content, and we're going to be looking at trucks and transports. Now, when first people get into bolt action, they're attracted by two things mostly. Normally they're attracted by the tanks, and normally they're attracted by what kind of infantry they can take. But what I've noticed a lot of the time with newer players is they kind of disregard trucks. And that's just straight up a rookie error, because trucks are absolutely fantastic. And when I say trucks, I mean trucks and transports. I'm talking about both things. Now, the reason why these things are so fantastic is because, well, you just notice when you're in a game, someone who has a truck, even if it's just one, but someone who doesn't, makes a world of difference. And it's a bit like when people say bolt action is an infantryman's game, but then, you know, if you don't have a tank and you turn up to a battle and the opponent has one, then it actually puts you in a really tricky position. So trucks are really, really powerful, and we're going to take a quick look into trucks and transports and all things and how to best use them and, you know, which ones are best and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing to just talk about is there's loads of different kinds of transport that you can take in bolt action. But you know, we're going to basically simplify them in this video just because it's a beginner's video and it's based off my I'm a beginner and I'm sort of relating what I've learned from my first-hand experience playing the game. And we're going to break them down into two broad categories. We're going to break them down into what I would call just trucks, and these are your ones which you can imagine are soft-skinned. They're your classic sort of Opel Blitz truck or something like that, and they don't have any armour. They might be open-topped. The soft skin, they've only got an armour value of 6+, which means even small arms can damage them. And so that's what that's category sort of 1. And then category 2 is what I would call like armoured carriers. Okay, and this is your classic German, half-track. This is your Bren carrier. Anything like that, your American, what is it, M3 or whatever it is, you know, the half-track for the Americans. That's sort of going to be the second category that we're going to look at. So firstly, we'll look at trucks. Okay, now I think every faction has access to some kind of generic truck. Okay, but they also have access, a lot of factions will have access also, honorable mention, to things like Jeeps. Okay, Jeeps are really, really cool and really fantastic. And the thing that defines all of these things is that, like I said, they'll be soft-skinned. Now, for those that don't know what soft-skinned is, it basically means that unlike other armoured vehicles, you can actually be damaged by small arms fire. It's like having, you know, like an inexperienced person gets wounded on a 3+, a regular infantryman gets wounded on a 4+, a veteran infantryman gets wounded on a 5+, a soft-skinned vehicle is one above that, and that gets wounded on a 6+. And that's kind of represent that these things are still, you know, you've got to hit the driver driving them to, you know, to really injure them, but it is possible to injure them. So with, you know, like a rifle, you know, it's possible to shoot the driver out with a rifle, for example, or keep the driver's head down. So that's the first intervention. So this is what I would call your light skin, your soft skin. You've got your trucks, you've got your Jeeps, and they tend to be, the other defining feature about them is they tend to be really, really affordable. So I personally like to take my trucks as veteran. That's a little bit controversial, but the reason I like to do it is, or any of my transports I take as veteran, is the reason I like to do it is because it means that when you come in from reserve, when you have to take that leadership test to come in from reserve, because everyone has to do that unless it's first wave, you're much more likely to bring it in, because there's nothing worse than having to bring your reserves in, bring those veterans in the truck in, and, you know, get them, you know, to counterattack. There's nothing worse than having a counterattack all lined up and then you just don't come in. So I personally, it's a bit of a luxury, I know, but without, you know, even a veteran transport, even a veteran Opel Blitz truck, for example, it's still only 49 points. It's very, very affordable, and it can carry like 10 or 12 dudes. It can carry a lot of dudes. And that's just really, really dirt cheap. And it means that your infantry can, the reason why they're so good in bolt action trucks and transports is because they're almost the polar opposite of how they work in 40k. In 40k, if you move your transport, you guys can't get out. You've got to get out first and then move the transport, which is stupid. Okay, I get why they've done it, but, you know, it's trying to avoid turn 1 charge and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's stupid. A transport is there to add mobility to a unit. it's not. When was like, no one takes transports really anymore. Very few. I'm sure someone is going to type in the comments, oh, this particular faction uses transports, devilfishes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but devilfishes work because you can get out after you've moved them with a stratagem. But anyway, going back to bot action. The point is that in bot action, the truck can move, and then the unit can get out. Now there's a balancing factor in there because the truck can only move at like half speed, because if the truck's going flat out, then the guys inside are having to hold on so they don't fall out. But that still means with something like a standard truck, you get to go 12 inches and then jump out and shoot or assault or anything like that. You get to move your half speed and get out, which is fantastic. Or if you're playing a mission where you need to get from one side of the board to the other and get off and get some extra points that way, vehicles can go, wheeled vehicles, trucks can go 12 inches, can go 24 inches if they run. So that's like going halfway up the board. If you're on a road, you double your movement. So technically a truck on a road can go 48 inches in one turn, because it's just like smashing it down the road, just full speed. You wouldn't be able to get out after that. But if there's a road from one side of the board to the other and you've got a truck on it, there's no one in it, you can just bang that truck 48 inches down the road, go from start on the board, and at the very least get into the enemy's deployment zone. The point is that they add a lot of mobility, which is what a transport's meant to do. And so the great thing about trucks, like I said, they're super cheap. And the great thing about Jeeps is they're even cheaper. And obviously, like a Jeep or a car, like a Kubelwagen, one of the two, however you want to say it, they're even cheaper. They're even cheaper. They obviously can't carry as many people. I think a Jeep can carry up to 5 people. I think some can even only carry up to like 3, some of the really like small staff cars and stuff. But those are still fantastic, because imagine you have got like a Panzerschreck team or a bazooka team or a Piat team. Rather than having to put them in a big full-size truck, you can just put the Piat team in a dirt cheap Jeep and just fly them up the board, jump out, and launch that shaped charge into the side of an enemy vehicle. So it's really, it's really nice. And that's what I tend to find Jeeps tend to be used for things like suicide, anti-tank like that, which might not be suicide if they blow the vehicle up and there's no other threats, but Jeeps and small units are good for small units, and then your trucks are good for transporting what I would call, and I sort of touched on this before, your counter-assault units, where you've got things like an enemy force is trying to break through. Maybe they've got like a unit that they're just sprinting down the side of the board, and they want to get them off the end of the board, and so they can get more points in in a mission that you get points if you move off the enemy board edge. Well, there's nothing quite like blunting enemy advance by letting the enemy come forward, and then you drive your truck on, then activate the next squad, jump out, and then just hosing them down with submachine guns or assault rifles. So, or even a flamethrower. If you've got like an assault pioneer team, that's pretty tasty. So the point is that that's the kind of things that I tend to use my trucks for. Either little Jeeps zooming up and jumping out and shooting people, or just having that threat. Even if you think about it, if you move and then with the unit and then shoot with it, they're going to be at like a -1. So like maybe they'll be in point blank, maybe they won't. But the best are going to hit on a 4+, or maybe a 3+, but more likely they're going to hit on a 4+. But the thing is, like, just having the threat of a Jeep or a Kubelwagen with the Panzerschreck in it is enough to change someone's game plan massively. So that's what I tend to find those units for. And like I said, having if an enemy is trying to push on you hard, having a transport with dudes in it in reserve is a great way to psych your opponent out and make him think, should I really be pushing this early? So they're really, really powerful tools, trucks and transports. Now, very quickly touching upon the other kind of transport, like I said, the 2 broad categories, the armoured personnel ones. These ones tend to have an armour value of 7+. I don't know of any that have an armor value of 8+. If anyone knows, let me know down in the comment section, because that's just cool. But having an armor value of 7+ is a big deal, because it means that small arms can't hurt you. You can't be hurt by small arms. So that's really big. Now that means that if you are looking at an enemy flank, and you're like, hang on, my enemy's got his tank over there or his armored car over there, and he hasn't got a P8 team or his other anti-tank somewhere else, and there's like just a couple of squads maybe pushing up a flank, and they haven't got any anti-tank between them, or nothing, nothing serious. It's like, okay, Well, you know what? That's a prime target for an armored blitzkrieg. That's a prime target for just one German half track loaded with assault pioneers just to roll up that flank and jump. And you know, this the enemy can see it coming, but there's not much they can do about it. Now there is a little caveat with a lot of armored personnel carriers is they tend to be open topped. So the German Hanomag and the Universal Carrier come to mind, and the M3 half track come to mind. A lot of these vehicles are open topped, and that means they can still be pinned by small arms. They can't be hurt. They can still be pinned by small arms, and the squad inside will take a pin as well. Because if you imagine bullets are flipping over the top, you're not going to be poking your head out the top of the half track, are you? You're going to be keeping it down. So there is still a counter, as is everything about action. There's always a counter, but you know it's still. You're not blowing that vehicle up, and you might get a pin on it a turn, but if it keeps passing its order test, you're going to lose that pin. So you know it's still counterable with small arms, but it's harder. Now the disadvantage with armored carriers is you are going to be paying a lot more for them. 2 reasons why. Typically, they all come with a machine gun in them, whether it's a light machine gun or a medium machine gun, or even a heavy machine gun. You are going to be typically paying for a baked-in machine gun. And the second thing is you're going to be paying for that Armor 7+. And typically as well with these armoured ones, they tend to be tracked rather than wheeled, which can affect their mobility, you know, because track vehicles tend to only go 9 inches. I think there's differences for half-track vehicles and track vehicles, but it's just something to be aware of if you take like a Bren carrier, for example. So they're not as manoeuvrable, but you know they are more expensive. But against someone who hasn't got any anti-tank, they really can just sort of drive up and they can do damage. And the great thing about them as well is, especially with something like the American M3, which I believe you can strap 3 machine guns to it or something crazy, is that once they've dropped off their cargo, they can provide fire support. They can provide fire support. Now, should be mentioned that many basic trucks can also take a medium machine gun, but you have to pay 15 points for it. Okay, but it's a sort of a point to say about both armored carriers and regular trucks is if you put a machine gun on them or it comes with a machine gun, they're not just transports. And there's kind of 2 ways you can think about using your transports. You can keep them as cheap as possible, no weapons, fly them at the board, and when they're done, and you know that's it. Or you can think of them as they transport and then they provide fire support. And armored carriers are great for providing that fire support because the enemy is going to have to dedicate something, even like an anti-tank rifle. You know, an anti-tank rifle over long range is still going to struggle to penetrate that armor. At close, you know, it's only going to get like a glance over long range with that anti-tank rifle. Which is, you know, anti-tank rifles are great at dealing with soft skin, but they're not so great at dealing with, you know, they start losing effective straight away when you start coming across anything with an armor value, especially over long range. So it's just something to be aware of. Anti-tank rifles are great though, and we will be doing a video on them. So that is it. That's the TATS video. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Transports are fantastic. If you're a noob, do not overlook them. You know, they are really, really potent, fantastic force multipliers, and if you build them right, you can get longevity out of them as well. They'll last you the whole game. Anyway, we'll keep this one short and sweet. Let me know down in the comment section your preferred truck and transport tactic, and also let me know down in the comment section below your preferred kind of transport. Is it the German Hanomag? Is it the Bren carrier? Is it the basic Opel Blitz? Is it the Mautlier, the sort of half-track German snow one that they can get? You know, I think you've got to take into account. I think a lot of trucks can also tow things, which is great. So you get a 2-for-1. You don't have to buy a separate tow slot and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, you know, just let me know down in the comments below. What is your preferred truck transport unit? Preferred Jeep as well. Is there anything that I've missed? Any mistakes that you think I've made? Please, of course, let me know. And of course, if there's anything, you know, preferred tactics and comments and general feedback, let me know down in the comment section below. Last thing before I go, massive thank you to the Patreon supporters. I know I say it every video, I don't want it to lose its impact, but I mean it every single time. This channel wouldn't be where it was without the patrons. I wouldn't be exploring bot action without the patrons. You know, it is thanks to them that I have that freedom to be able to go and try out new game systems, try them out properly, not just theory craft them, and bring you back information from the front line based on real life experience. There's no theory crafting on this channel anymore. It's all based on real life. Sometimes that's an advantage, sometimes it's a disadvantage, but it's all thanks to the Patreon supporters. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, thank you to the Patreons, and of course, I'll see you guys